สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ
Good morning everyone and welcome to Meditation for Peace program broadcast every Sunday morning on this Dhamma media channel of the Dhammakaya Foundation.
This program is especially geared towards non-Thai individuals as it is a comprehensive overview of the art of meditation as well as Buddhism. Viewers will be able to focus on getting to know and improve themselves with Dhammakaya meditation method at the first part of the program.
And in the second part of the show, viewers will have the opportunity to listen to the meditation experiences of other practitioners. In the third part, viewers will find a discourse in the Buddhist teachings and at the end, see how these core values of Buddhism are incorporated into Thais' lives to make it a peaceful way of life.
Yes, we hope the contents have interested you and perhaps you are ready to get on the meditation practice with us. So let's start with our meditation with พระราชภาวนาวิสุทธิ์หลวงพ่อธรรมชโย the abbot of Dhammakaya Temple. See you after this.
ต่อจากนี้ไปตั้งใจให้แน่แน่วมุ่งตรงถนทางพระนิพพานกันทุกคนนะลูกนะให้นั่งขัดสมาธิโดยเอาขาขวาทับขาซ้ายมือขวาทับมือซ้ายให้นิ้วชี้ของมือข้างขวาจรดนิ้วหัวแม่มือข้างซ้ายวางไว้บนหน้าตักพอสบายหลับตาของเราเบาๆคลอดลูกพอสบายคล้ายๆกับตอนที่เราใกล้จะหลับอย่าไปบีบเปลือกตาอย่ากดลูกในตานะจ๊ะแล้วก็ทำใจของเราให้เบิกบานให้แจ่มชื่นให้สะอาดบริสุทธิ์ผ่องใสไร้กังวลในทุกสิ่งไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องอะไรก็ตามให้ปลดให้ปล่อยให้วางทำใจให้ว่างเราทำการบ้านกันมาทุกวันปฏิบัติธรรมะก็สม่ำเสมอเราเริ่มเข้าใจเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของการวางใจแล้วบางคนพอนึกรวมใจไปที่ศูนย์กลางกายฐานที่7ซึ่งอยู่กลางท้องของเราในตำแหน่งที่เหนือจากสะดือขึ้นมา2 นิ้วมือก็ลงไปได้เลยอย่างสบายเดินไม่เกร็งแล้วก็ไม่กดลูกในตาเพราะฉะนั้นการน้อมเข้ามาตั้งที่ฐานที่7มันง่ายนึกนิดเดียวกันนั่นเองไม่ต้องเยอะนึกแผ่วๆเหมือนเป็นสำนึกลึกๆของความนึกคิดเท่านั้นแหละมันก็ลงมาแล้วที่ฐานที่7ลงไปที่ฐานที่7เลยแล้วหลังจากนั้นน่ะใจของเราจะหยุดนิ่งๆอยู่ที่กลางจุดใสๆนิ่งเรื่อยไปเลยนิ่งอย่างสบายๆต้องสบายนะลูกนะแต่บางท่านยังทำไม่ได้ก็ได้เริ่มวางใจณจุดที่เรามีความรู้สึกว่าสบายไปก่อนซึ่งจะเป็นตรงไหนก็ได้โดยไม่คำนึงถึงฐานที่7 แล้วก็เริ่มรู้สึกว่ามันสบายเริ่มรู้สึกว่ามันง่ายความสุขที่ได้จากสมาธิเราก็ค่อยๆได้สัมผัสคือเริ่มรู้สึกว่าตัวที่ทึบๆหนาๆเนี่ยมันเริ่มโปร่งเริ่มโล่งเริ่มว่างๆเริ่มเคว้งคว้างละเหมือนอยู่กลางอวกาศบางท่านตัวหายไปเลยเหมือนไม่มีตัวมีแต่ความรู้สึกของใจบางคนก็ไม่รู้ว่าจะทำอย่างไรเมื่อเจอภาวะโล่งๆว่างๆตัวหายไปสิ่งที่ควรจะต้องทำคือใจสบายอยู่ตรงไหนก็เอาตรงนั้นแหละไปก่อนแล้วพอมันถูกส่วนสมบูรณ์ 100% แล้วเนี่ยเราค่อยนึกน้อมกลับเข้ามาหรือจะมีเครื่องหมายที่ใสๆและขนาดปลายเข็มก็มีขนาดดวงดาวในอากาศก็มีจะปรากฏเกิดขึ้นตรงที่ใจเราหยุดนิ่งเราก็จับภาพนั้นคือดูไปเฉยๆดูเผินๆอย่าถึงกับจ้องนะจ๊ะคือจะว่าดูก็ไม่เชิงจะว่าไม่ดูก็ไม่ใช่มันอยู่ระหว่างกลางๆถ้าหากเราดูเป็นคืออยู่ระหว่างกลางจริงๆจุดใสๆนั้นมันจะนิ่งแต่ถ้าเราตั้งใจมากเกินไปมันจะหายแต่ถ้าเผลอก็หายอีกเหมือนกันจ้องก็ไม่ได้จ้องก็หายเผลอก็หายไอ้ตรงความพอดีตรงนี้แหละเราต้องทำให้ได้ด้วยวิธีคือนิ่งเฉยๆไม่ต้องทำอะไรไม่ต้องตั้งคำถามในใจไม่ให้มีข้อสงสัยใดๆทั้งสิ้นเหมือนตัวเราเป็นหุ่นยนต์ที่ไม่มีมันสมองนะคิดไม่เป็นหรือไม่มีความคิดคิดไม่เป็นหรือไม่มีความคิดต้องทำอย่างนี้นะลูกนะคิดไม่เป็นคิดไม่เป็นเนี่ยใช้ได้ตลอดเลยเพราะว่าการศึกษาความรู้ภายในนั้นน่ะมันเลยขั้นระบบของความคิดมันไม่ต้องใช้ความคิดเลยมันเป็นความรู้ที่เกิดจากความไม่คิดคือจิตมันหยุดนิ่งๆบริสุทธิ์แล้วก็สว่างแล้วก็เห็นแล้วก็รู้มันอย่างนี้นะจ๊ะมันแตกต่างจากที่เราเคยเรียนรู้มาต้องฟังต้องอ่านต้องคิดต้องเขียนแต่นี่มันไม่ใช่มันเป็นความรู้ที่เกิดจากหยุดกันนิ่งที่คิดไม่เป็นไม่มีความคิดเลยใจมันจะปลอดความคิดจิตมันจะหยุดนิ่งๆความรู้อย่างนี้เขาเรียกว่าภาวนามยปัญญาความรู้ที่เกิดจากหยุดกันนิ่งแล้วก็สว่างเห็นแล้วก็รู้นี่เราต้องเข้าใจกระบวนการตรงนี้ซะก่อนเห็นไหมเจ้าว่าเรารู้นะเรื่องหลักวิชาแล้ววิธีนึกก็สอนหมดแล้วนะให้เบาๆสบายๆมีสิ่งที่ดีๆอีกเยอะนับไม่ถ้วนอย่างเมื่อเราได้เข้าถึง พระรัตนตรัยในตัวนั่งให้ดีนะลูกนะใครเหนื่อยใครง่วงใครเพลียใครนั่งแล้วตึงก็ปล่อยให้มันหลับไปในกลางพอสดชื่นแล้วก็ตื่นมาทำใหม่ใครเมื่อยก็ขยับฟุ้งก็ลืมตาแล้วก็ว่ากันใหม่ให้ลูกทุกคนสมหวังดังใจในการเข้าถึงพระรัตนตรัยในตัวทุกคนนะลูกนะต่างคนต่างนั่งกันไปเงียบๆนะจ๊ะ
Our main concern is to make sure of your progress in meditation. Last week, we brought the 10 meditation homework for daily life, which is the technique to fruitful of meditation and inner happiness of being a beloved person.
This assignment was given by the Most Venerable Luang Por Thammashayo to his students of the Inner Dream Kindergarten. It is a practical way to integrate meditation in one's daily life, to have a habit of having a still mind, like our beloved Master Kunyai Maharatana Upasika Jan Konok Yung. But here, we won't repeat the benefit of a still mind, but rather get on with the second item of the homework.
For those who perhaps missed the last week episode, the first item of our homework is to make the effort to see the virtues in ourselves and others, and congratulate others on their virtues and give them the opportunity to congratulate others.
Yes, just like the Most Venerable Luang Por's, look for the opportunity to congratulate the Pali students who have completed their course of study. That was a good example.
Right? And the second item of homework is to restrict ourselves to only useful and positive words and never forget to smile.
For today, we will talk about the third assignment, which is to keep the daily notes of our meditation experience in a diary. How this can assist our meditation, we will discuss further after the interview.
In our studio, our guests are participants of the Middle Way Meditation Retreat who was recently introduced to the Middle Way meditation technique, learn how they feel and what they have experienced next.
Sawadee. Welcome to the Middle Way Meditation Retreat Program in Suan Pa Himmawan, Loi Province. My name is Chantipa Vanishkun. I'll be with you during that interview session today. The objective of today's sessions is to introduce our audience the Middle Way Meditation Program and some of the people who have been staying at the meditation center in Loi. We have the opportunity during our program to interview each session, and some of the people who have had the opportunity of spending some time at the meditation center in northeastern Thailand. Today we have Miss Joanne Bells from the UK. She would like to share with us her experience during her meditation retreat. Sawadee ka.
Sawadee ka.
Will you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background?
My name is Joanne Bayliss. I will tell you a little bit about my background from when I was a child. I led quite an unhappy childhood, and I was dyslexic at school, which meant I could not read or write, and that was not picked up at school. So basically I came out of school with no qualifications, and I knew that I was going to need to work very, very hard if I was going to become successful in life. And what success to me at that age was to get as many material things around me as possible. Okay. So big houses, cars,
That's
and,
what your
and
idea
money.
in that time.
That was my idea when I was very young.
Okay.
So in my 20s I opened up a few businesses, one being a spa, and I also was into property development, buying and selling and renovating properties. I led a really, really stressful life in my 20s, and by the age of 30 I'd achieved absolutely everything materially wise, but inside I was totally unhappy, totally discontent with my life. In fact, I was quite depressed, even though I was, from the outside, externally, you'd think I had everything, but from the inside I had nothing. So I then met my spiritual mentor when I was 30, and she got me on the path of spiritual development, of finding the truth about myself.
Okay.
And I've been on the path for the last 7 years, and that's learning about judging myself, loving myself, separating myself from others, and so that's where my work started. And since then I've been meditating and exploring the truth of who I am.
Okay. What you're saying is that the start of your interest in the meditation?
Yes, that's the start of my journey. Now I help people unlock their potential, so I inspire, uplift and motivate people by using the lessons and the truths that I've learned along my path. And meditation is something that I've been doing for the last couple of years, and coming to this retreat now has made me more in tune with meditation and the benefits of meditation. And I think for me it will definitely be a daily practice, even though twice a day, morning and night. I think it's crucial because it stills my mind, it focuses me, and it clears thoughts that I don't need to have.
Okay. It's just to listen to what you have done. That's a great thing.
Yes.
To help people out. Okay. How did you find out about this meditation program?
It was funny actually. It was a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, what shall I do for Christmas? You know, normal English Christmas. But I live in Thailand. And I thought,
chocolate and white Christmas?
No. And I thought, shall I fly back to England? And I thought, no, I don't want to do that. But I don't want to do the normal Christmas thing in Thailand either, you know, with English people. And I opened the newspaper in the Phuket Gazette, and there it was, the meditation retreat. And I thought, that's it. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Okay. But I heard that you have been spent some time in Phuket for a couple of months now, right?
Yes.
What are you doing in Phuket?
I'm helping. I work as a consultant, helping people unlock their potential. So motivating, inspiring, and uplifting them, so that they can be their best at what they do. So basically, unlocking their heart's desire.
I heard you are a writer too.
I am writing a manual so that I can teach what I do, to help people, teach them how to live in freedom and with their passion.
Okay, you seem like you have a lot of things to do, a lot of goals, right? And busy woman, but you still, but you decided to share your time with meditation. That's very nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But you say that is when you're like about 30. That's the start of your meditation. That is the time you start practice meditation. Ever since, right?
Really, in the last 2 years, more. I learned about meditation when I was 30, but I've been on my spiritual path, unlocking the different, things like judgment. I didn't love myself when I was 30. That's why I was so unhappy. I was judging myself. I was separating myself from people, and when you judge other people, you're you're judging yourself. When you're separating yourself from other people, really you're judging yourself, because we're all a mirror of each other. We just reflect back to each other how we truly are. And so with meditation now, it clears your mind. And when, say, I do go into judgment with people, but then when I come back to myself and come back to my stillness, then I realize that I'm just judging myself and I'm not loving myself. So until you truly love yourself, you can't love others. And so I think meditation is a conduit to love, happiness and joy.
Enjoy.
Okay.
And what did you learn at this meditation session?
More out of the tools that I've learned along my path, but also about mindfulness. Mindfulness is something that it's a daily discipline. It's a minute-to-minute discipline that, even by putting a pen down, you don't throw it down. You actually, because that's a mirror of yourself, the way you treat yourself. So you just gently put it down. So you're being gentle with yourself. And so everything mirrors back to us. And so for me, mindfulness in every action we do in daily life is a phenomenal tool I've learned in this meditation retreat. Also, I've learned about Buddhism, and even though I'm not religious, I think that Buddhism is along the lines that I live anyway. It's in line. It's about self-love, it's about letting go and surrendering, and it's about non-judgment, not separating yourself. And I think it's phenomenal. For me, it's been a wonderful experience.
Okay, and the meditation that you learn here, is it different from what you have learned before?
No. I mean, with the monks, the way they teach, to have a white sphere light here, whereas I do it a different way. But again, what I've learned is, and looking, observing the group, sort of everybody's been saying, is this the right way? Is this the right way? But actually, the right way is whatever way works for you. There's no specific way. It's just about stilling your mind, letting go of your thoughts, and letting what comes to you in the way that it comes to you, because we're all different.
And just keep observing what comes to you.
Yeah.
Is that right?
With no judgment, not judging yourself.
Judgment.
Yeah, just letting go.
Okay, just let it go. Okay, maybe could you share with us your experience during your meditation?
Okay. For me, it's quite unusual, because with the monks, we've been taught to sit or to sit on a chair, whereas when I meditate, I've always lay down. And so it's a little bit unusual. I don't go to sleep, and it wouldn't suit some people, but for me it really works. And so I lie down and I relax all the muscles in my body, and I imagine a white light coming through the top of my head, through my third eye, into my heart. And then I imagine this light filling my whole body. And then what happens is I just go into complete stillness. And then I'll sometimes get lights that are vivid lights sort of flashing in front of my eyes. Sometimes it will be blank. But what I do get is a complete stillness of my mind, that I can, then I receive messages, sort of, like it will be, love yourself more, or, so I'll, first of all, you're getting the flashes of work and business plans and, what you're eating next or where are you going, and then I put those into bubbles. So it's like, a thought will come to me, and then I'll put that in a pink bubble. So I'm thinking I'll deal with it later. So it's not I'll forget it, I'll deal with it later. So different bubbles. So then that gives me the stillness that I need. And within that stillness, I get these messages that love yourself, or judgment or whatever it is that I need to learn, and from that I'll wake up and I'll write about what experience I had.
And but how about what your meditation you learn here, right? You learned what you learned, but you said, but just follow the. Just now you said, but follow the, like from imagination, just come to the third eye, come to your heart,
Yeah.
and just start to, just like let the light go
Let
into
the
the
light
center,
go.
into body, and
Yeah.
just spread it.
Yeah.
But it's what you say that just now you're saying. It's just like, okay, it's like you try to live. It's like you know how to deal with your thought, with your voice. Okay?
Yes.
You put all your thoughts so it always come when you want to meditate into the pink bubbles,
Yes.
right? And leave it beside you and say, I will deal with that later. It's like somebody said that when you when you start to do meditation, you have to leave all your worries behind.
Yes.
You will deal with that later.
Yeah.
Right, but not now. This is what you want time for yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And with those bubbles, then invariably they don't come back because you feel more still, more settled, and you have clarity of mind. So
It's just in center of your body.
Yeah.
And then, okay.
Yeah.
What you said just now is like the technique that you use for your meditation too. Is that right?
Yes.
That you said you are from now on you're gonna try to do meditation every day.
Yes.
Right. That's probably meditation will be a part of your life.
Yes.
Right, and you
Yeah.
think that meditation is helping you to become very a cheerful person like you are now.
Yes.
Is that right?
And
What-
centered
centered.
and balanced.
And balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
I cannot believe that your every time I see you, it's always smile, right? You
Yeah.
always show your happy face to everybody all the time. Okay.
Thank you.
What is the most impressive experience that you have received from this retreat?
The love, the unconditional love. As soon as I arrived here, in fact, before I arrived here, when I got on the coach, all the staff were absolutely beautiful. And then we arrived here. I had no expectation of the retreat at all. And we arrived here and I just thought, it's so simple, but yet it's so lovely. And there's just a whole feeling of unconditional love here. Yet the rooms are really, really basic, but all you need. Just really the simplicity, but the love with the simplicity and the beauty of it all. And during the meditation as well, even the flowers look so much brighter, whereas normally I wouldn't even notice the nature. And everything's become so much brighter, even the people, the love and the people. I just think the whole experience has been phenomenal for me.
Yeah. Well, you said because you said that the thing is it a simple, easy answer for everything.
Yeah.
That somebody I truly respect even have mentioned that people always search from the answer. They overlook that the answer is it's a simple thing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What is your inspiration after this retreat?
I am going to teach people meditation.
Well, may I join your merit?
Yes. Yes, no, I'm going to start a meditation practice and where I live, and then hopefully expand
You mean
that.
in Phuket or back in UK?
In Phuket,
Okay.
to start with, and then the meditation will then be part of my my course that I teach for people to create and manifest whatever they want to within their life. And meditation will be part of the practice. But to start with, to uplift, inspire and motivate people into meditation.
Okay, and I have another question. That many people had mentioned that meditation is an international practice, not restricted to one belief, or what do you think about these terms?
I think that there's so many religions in the country, in the world, but I think that we all want the same thing at the end of the day. We all want to be loved and feel loved and joy, experience joy. So whatever religion you are, I think we all universally want the same thing.
Okay.
So I think meditation just takes you back to your basics, to your core. When you get back to your core, to your heart, and you can listen to your heart, then you can experience love, joy, inner peace, stillness, whatever you want to in life.
Okay, it's like meditation is it's a guideline for you to have the answer for your life. That's what you're saying.
Meditation is a conduit to love, happiness, and
Happiness
peace.
and peace.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I think. For me, that's where it is.
Okay. If you have a chance, would you like to come back here again?
Absolutely. In fact, I've asked if I could come back and be a mentor for other groups that come here, and also I will also let all my friends and people that I know about the retreat.
I think they are very welcome to have you back.
Yes.
You're now sitting in front of the DMC channels, and people already are watching you right now. Would you have anything that you want to say to them?
Come.
Come, just
Come, just come. Don't think about it. Let go, surrender. Just come and try it, because I think it's the most wonderful thing that you will do in your life, because it will take you back to your stillness, back to your heart, and then back to your true heart's desire.
It's like you are the example. Like listen to you on your background, and here you are. You're a happy person right now. You have a lot of smile on your face, and you want to share loving kindness to people. So
Yeah.
it's a good example.
That's all we want, and I think that meditation is for people that are working, it's for people that are not working, it's for absolutely everybody in life. And I come from a very commercial background and from running my own businesses, but I think meditation is phenomenal. It relieves stress. It is a phenomenal tool that you can use to take you through life and to a more peaceful life, and loving kindness for other people as well.
No, thank you. Well, thank you very much for joining us and to share your great experience with us. I think everybody's who's right now have the question in their mind about meditation. I think now they have the answer.
Yes.
That they can come,
Yeah.
right? Or if they want to practice meditation at home, they can do that too.
Yeah.
Thank you very
absolutely.
much.
Luang Pa said that every meditation experience is a good experience. Keep them in our diary, and it will allow our practice to improve without end. Keeping such notes help us to reflect back over the inner experiences we've achieved in our meditation.
Yes, it is said that the more we reflect in such a way, the more merit will arise. In Buddhist dictionary as well as others English dictionary, one entry found for merit is intrinsic quality, which is important to our transformation to be a better and happier person.
Also, rereading our notes help us to achieve consistency in our Dhamma practice and allow our understanding of it to become more profound. It allows us to adjust the balance of our meditation more accurately, understand and overcome obstacles in meditation more easily.
In addition, we will gain the know-how of the thought of the mood and allow us to progress in our practice and the sort of hindrances that cause us to lose our subtlety of mind.
However, before we go further into the detailed practice of keeping our meditation diary, let us now turn our attention to the Dhamma discourse of Venerable Sandor, which features on the Buddha's enlightenment and the attainment of the great masters of the Dhammakaya tradition following the Buddha's footsteps.
Yes, and the contribution made by these distinguished Buddhist monks and nuns to the concept of meditation for world peace.
Hello everybody. Today we have another episode in which I will talk about the history of meditation for attaining Dhammakaya, or middle way meditation. Last time we talked about how the Buddha, when he was still called Prince Siddhartha, had the idea of ordaining, renouncing the worldly life and becoming an ascetic, becoming a monk, to discover something that was beyond old age, sickness and death. To find something that was beyond old age, sickness and death, that means to find something which is beyond suffering. Because he felt that even though he led a very comfortable and luxurious life, he wanted to discover something that was beyond the life of limitations of suffering. He felt that a commoner who was still prone to sickness, old age and death was actually not the same as him. Even though he led a comfortable life in the palace with all luxuries available to him, he felt actually he wasn't that different from any common man or common woman, in that he was still subject to old age, sickness and death, and subject to suffering. He therefore decided that he would like to find a way out of suffering and to look for what is wholesome, for what is good, to look for what is beyond suffering. And to that purpose, he then decided to shave off his hair and to go to flee out of the palace, for which he didn't have the permission of his parents, and to finally to lead the holy life. And he first started to practice meditation with two meditation teachers in those days, Alara and Uttaka. And both of them would teach to meditate by focusing on an object until a certain point, until you could reach what is called the jhanas, or what is also sometimes translated as the absorptions. And when someone could attain these absorptions, it would be like a very happy state. And Prince Siddhartha also practiced these absorptions, or these jhanas, until he could actually attain to the same level as his own teachers. And these absorptions would make the mind very still and calm and very peaceful. But he felt that having learned how to make the mind still and calm and peaceful, this was of course something good, but it wasn't the whole thing. His teachers said to him, do you want to teach on my side? Do you want to help me teaching? You know just as much as I know. But he refused, because he felt he had not found the end of suffering, yet had not found what is wholesome, what is good. And it has been suggested, as analyzed by our Vice Abbot, Long Po Tatachivo, that actually the meditation that he practiced at that time was meditation outside. focusing outside, focusing externally. So it was a meditation that was different from what he would practice later on. Focusing externally is another way we can meditate. It's possible for us to look at a candle, to look at something outside, and concentrate on that. Like, for example, in the case of the seer Nostradamus. He also used an object outside, and he concentrated on that object until his mind became stable and concentrated. And finally, he would be able to see these visions that he had written down in his book. But as said, focusing externally has its limitations. Sometimes our mind becomes peaceful, but it cannot really discover anything more than that. The vision and the knowledge that the Buddha was looking for, that Prince Siddhartha was looking for, he could not find yet. So he felt that this method was not the whole story yet. It just brought calm and peace to him, but it didn't give him the reality that he was looking for, the insight into the reality, in the penetrating reality as it really is, understanding, and finally finding a way out of suffering. He then tried something that was traditionally known in Indian society as the best way to attain enlightenment, the best way to attain the Dhamma or the enlightenment, and that is torturing yourself, or what is called self-mortification. And he did this for many years, starting with very simple practices. For example, the practices of not meeting anyone else. It's a sort of self-torture or something like that, sort of ascetic practice. But finally, practicing the most intensive ascetic practices, like eating very little, only 1 grain of rice per day. That was the most extreme form that he practiced. Eating only 1 grain of rice per day. If you try, you'll find that it's not easy. And there are pictures, images of those days of when the Buddha was practicing this self-mortification, and you see him very skinny. And he described himself that by simply feeling his stomach, he could touch his backbone. And by feeling his backbone, he could touch his stomach. So skinny was he. And then one of his students later said, well, maybe the grains of rice, or one of his students thought that maybe the grains of rice in those days were bigger than now. But the Buddha said they were the same. So he ate very little, and he was trying to the utmost to find the truth of life by tormenting himself. Why did he choose this path? Because in those days, it was common to practice self-torture. It was known in India as the way to find enlightenment. And even today, it's still practiced everywhere. So you find in many places in India, well, I won't say everywhere, but in many places, you find that it's still practiced. Not so long ago, there was someone who made it to the Guinness Book of Records, standing on 1 leg for many days on end. Just 1 leg, some birds or something like that, standing on 1 leg all the time, just to torment yourself. Some people in India will just hold their fist like this, pinch their fist like this, and until blood gushes out, something like that. So there are many of these practices in India. And the Buddha, he tried everything. He felt that looking externally wasn't the way to find the way out of suffering. he then decided to look internally instead, to go inside. But first of all, he would practice this way because he thought that if he practiced the body and let go of the body by torturing himself, he could find the way out of suffering. Then finally, after 6 years, 6 very painful and painstaking years, he finally found that this practice wasn't helping him. At the moment that he was very weak, he suddenly remembered when he was just a child, only 7 years old, that he was sitting under a tree during a ceremony that was held at the palace. During a ceremony that was held in those days, the ploughing ceremony. At that time he was sitting under a tree, meditating, very calm, very peaceful. Just 7 years old, can you imagine? His babysitter had left him alone, and normally a kid of that age would perhaps run around and play, but he didn't. He just felt like meditating. It was his nature as a child. And he just sat under a tree and decided to meditate, bringing the mind to peace and stillness. And suddenly he felt very peaceful and bright. At that time he discovered sort of first beginning of the path. But as a kid he didn't think much of it. But now finally he had grown older. He had now become an ascetic for 6 years now. He had been an ascetic for 6 years now. He had been torturing himself for a long time now, but suddenly he recalled this, that he had once meditated very calm and very peaceful. And he saw to himself that now that he had tormented himself, tortured himself to the utmost, and he had not found what is wholesome, what is good, had not found the end of suffering. He had only discovered more and more suffering. He then suddenly thought to himself, there must be some other method. And he thought that when he was a child, he also practiced meditation. Now the question comes to mind, which is a very important question. What was the difference how he meditated as a child, when he was only 7 years old, with the time that he meditated with Uttaka and Alara, his Dhamma teachers? There was a difference. But this is not always very clear in the tradition. But this is very clearly been illustrated by Luang Por Tamachayo and Luang Por Tatachivo. They very clearly said that at that moment he discovered the real method to bring the mind to peace by bringing the mind inside rather than outside, which sounds very natural, but actually is very important. This is the essence of Buddhist meditation practice. Not to focus outside, not to focus on trying to find the truth outside by looking at the heavens or trying to stare until the mind becomes concentrated at some object, but actually to bring the mind within and stilling it at the center. Now this word at the center is very important. When Prince Siddhartha at that time reflected on the right method to practice his mind, he then thought to himself that to find the truth of life, to find enlightenment, to find the end of suffering, that truth of light, that Dhamma, that enlightenment must be very subtle and profound. Something that is very subtle and profound must be discovered, must be penetrated, must be understood by something that is very subtle as well. In other way, the means must be similar to the thing attained. The means to attain must be similar to the thing attained, the similar quality. So he then thought to himself, what if I just, develop the mind, make the mind subtle? And then he then discovered and practiced the way that he had practiced as a child, which later on he was going to call the middle way. The middle way, which is traditionally between two extremes, the extremes of self-mortification and pursuit of sensual pleasures. And that middle way was what he was going to teach throughout his life until he finally passed away into Nibbana. But at that time, he discovered this middle way. This middle way was actually not just a path between these two extremes. If you read in the Tipitaka, it seems that it's only a path between two extremes, and it's also, the middle way is also the Eightfold Path. In other words, it's a model of practice. But actually, if we learn about the teachings of Luang Pu Wapak Nam, Sotantasaro, he taught that the middle way is actually an existing path within, which we can discover once the mind is still at one single point at the center. This is an important interpretation and understanding. In other words, the middle way is not only the pathway between these two extremes, but it's also a pathway within. Some people, they speak somewhat jokingly that, oh, today I better not meditate too much or chant too much because I want to follow the middle way. I met one taxi driver and he told me he likes to chant, but he doesn't chant too much because he wants to follow the middle way. This is something that occurs when we do not understand and do not study about these things clearly. But actually the middle way has a much more deeper meaning. And this is very revealing. It was very revealing to me, and I think for many people, that there is this inner path, the Eightfold Path as an inner path. If you look at the Buddhist scriptures, this is described as well. And I will close with this quote for this episode, that the Buddha, he said, he discovered an inner path, and he compared it with a king, or with someone who discovered an old road that was once traveled on by travelers, and an old city that was forgotten and forlorn. And that old road and an old city, he then discovered again. You could compare it with archaeologists discovering a place like Borobudur, excavating it, unburying it, and finally discovering this great monument hidden, a memory of the past in a country where this past was already forgotten. In the same way, the Buddha, he said, he discovered an old path, an old practice that was practiced by the previous Buddhas, the previous enlightened ones. And he now rediscovered this path within. Not a path outside, not just an intellectual path of thinking and pondering, but a path within. When the mind is practiced in stillness, when it has become still, when it has developed and it has become still, then it goes within. When it goes within, it becomes subtle. When it is as subtle as the truth, then it can discover the truth, or Nibbana. So that was the enlightenment that he discovered at that time. So this is a very important point. When he discovered this enlightenment, he thought he discovered a way when he brought the mind to stillness. He then discovered that the mind can actually gain brightness. There is an episode in the Udana, one of the Buddhist texts, which describes this very clearly. Just as the moment when he became enlightened, after he became enlightened, the Buddha said these words, that he uttered these words, that he said that his enlightenment can be compared to a sun that is shining and dispelling the darkness. And this comes about when the mind is developed, practiced in the right way. And this light that he discovered, this inner light, he has spoken of in many teachings. This inner light he developed. When the mind is still, it can be possible that we find an inner light within. This sounds very abstract and maybe sounds very poetic, but it's actually an existing truth within that we can discover. And this light within dispels the darkness. The definition of ignorance in Buddhism is actually a darkness that covers the mind. Ignorance is as the cause of suffering in Buddhism, in the Dhamma. Ignorance as the cause of suffering is actually not just an absence of knowledge, as an absence of knowledge as I don't know where Tokyo is, I don't know where Chiang Mai or Bangkok is, but it's actually a darkness in the mind that prevents us from knowing these things which are actually our birthright to know. Like we don't know why we are born. We don't know where we came from. Isn't it a strange thing that all of us are born and we do not know where we have come from? If we believe that our human being is composed of more than just the body, the question then arises, where does our mind come from? Our body comes from the food and the drinks and the nutrition that our mother has taken in. It comes from our mother's body. That is where our body finally comes from. But where does our mind come from? Have you ever wondered about that? These questions, we have not a clear answer in our mind. We might have an answer that is intellectual, provided by our tradition, provided by our upbringing, but it cannot really be the answer that can dispel the darkness in the mind and give us complete certainty. And this knowledge was what the Buddha discovered at that time, which we call the true knowledge, or vicca. The true knowledge, or vicca, that he discovered when he became enlightened, during the moment when he became enlightened, just before his enlightenment. In total were 3 of them. The first true knowledge, or the first vicca, was the knowledge of recollecting one's past abodes. That means to see your previous lives. Not to see them by hypnosis or to see them in a sort of vague way, as a child might sometimes see things from the past. But actually see very clearly where you've come from, what your previous lives were like. This may sound very hard to believe for those with a Judeo-Christian upbringing or from the West. But this is something that happened. And so these 3 knowledges is what the Buddha discovered at that time. And these 3 knowledges provided him finally with the complete clarity in all things, gave him the complete clarity in all things, and especially made it possible for him to see his own mind, to see his own impurities in the mind, and to finally be able to remove these impurities completely and to discover enlightenment in that way. So that will be a small summary of his enlightenment for today. In the next episode, I will then go into more detail. So I would like to close with today's talk just like this. Jaren Pon.
As you've seen from our show, the improvement we make to ourselves in our working and daily lives as a result of self-reflection will have advantages that extend to those around us. It will help us to be more open and responsive to criticism and suggestions of those around us.
Yes, plus we will be more thorough in our dealing with the world, reducing the causes of potential conflict with those around us. All that is the message from the Meditation for Peace. See you again next week. Goodbye. สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ